Hey guys, today we're going to talk about listening to a voice in literature. So, listening to a voice consists of three parts: tone, persona, and irony. So, to examine a voice, we as readers can better understand the author's purpose, attitude, feelings, or the message he wants to convey towards the subject. So, let's begin. Let's start off with tone. In literature, the tone conveys an attitude toward the person addressed. Tone is generally conveyed through the choice of words, like diction or the viewpoint of a writer on a particular subject. Strictly speaking, tone is not an attitude. The tone of a poem may tell us how the speaker feels about himself or herself. For the example, we're going to examine the poem My Papa's Watch by Theodore Roethke. The whiskey on your breath could make a small boy dizzy, but I hung on like a death. Such wowsing was not easy. We romped until the pans slid from the kitchen shelf. My mother's countenance could not unfrown itself. The hand that held my wrist was battered on one knuckle. At every step you missed, my right ear scraped a buckle. You beat time on my head with a palm kicked hard by dirt, then waltzed me off to bed, still clinging to your shirt. So at first, some students may describe the tone of this poem as critical or angry or judgmental towards his father. But when you examine it closely, the actual tone remains grotesquely comic and almost satirical. The humor is reinforced by the playful rhymes such as dizzy and easy, knuckle and buckle, as well as the joyful suggestions of the words waltz, waltzing, and romped. So diction plays a very important role in determining the tone of this poem. And next, we're going to look at For a Lady I Know by County Colin. She even thinks that up in heaven her class lies late and snores, while poor black sheriffs rise at 7 to do celestial chores. The tone of this poem can be described as satirical, naive, mocking, and witty, where a woman naively thinks that even after death there will be a differentiated class system that poor blacks do celestial chores. Words like even and cherubs mocks the woman herself with such naive diction and conveys the overall tone of the passage. Next, we're going to talk about persona. Persona is a fictitious character created by an author to be the speaker of a poem, story, or novel. A persona is always the narrator of the work and not merely a character in it. It is distinct from the author but chosen and created by the author. It is also the voice or an assumed role of a character. So the poem we're examining is called Luke Havergal by Edwin Arlington Robinson. So it is a little long, but we're going to go through it. Go to the western gate, Luke Havergal. There where the vines cling crimson on the wall, and in the twilight wait for what will come. The leaves will whisper there of her, and some, like flying words, will strike you as they fall. But go, and if you listen, she will call. Go to the western gate, Luke Havergal. Luke Havergal. No, there is not a dawn in eastern skies to rift the fiery night that's in your eyes. But there, where western glooms are gathering, the dark will end the dark, if anything. God slays himself with every leaf that flies, and hell is more than half of paradise. No, there's not a dawn in eastern skies, Out of a grave I come to tell you this. Out of a grave I'll come to quench the kiss that flames upon your forehead with a glow that blinds you to the way that you must go. Yes, there's yet one way to where she is, bitter, but one that faith might never miss. Out of a grave I come to tell you this. There is the western gate, Luke Havergal. There are the crimson leaves upon the wall. Go, for the winds are tearing them away, nor think to riddle the dead words they say, nor any more to feel them as they fall, but go, and if you trust her, she will call. There is the western gate, Luke Havergal. So in Edwin Arlington Robinson's poem, Luke Havergal, the persona of the poem is never clearly stated. It remains as a mystery as a voice guides and tells Luke Havergal to commit suicide. So from the diction and the structure of the poem, we can infer that the person is demanding and somewhat superior, as acting like a voice and the force guiding Luke Havergal. And from examining the persona of this poem, we can know that what the purpose of this poem is and what the author is trying to convey.
In this section, we're going to talk about irony in a voice. So, what is irony? Irony is a literary device in which a discrepancy of meaning is masked beneath the surface of the language. So, what is an ironic point of view? An ironic point of view is a perspective of a character or narrator whose voice or position is rich in ironic contradictions. Noticing the key word here is contradictions. Now I'm going to introduce three types of major ironies. The first one will be verbal irony. This is a statement in which the speaker or writer says the opposite of what is really meant. The second one would be dramatic irony, and this is a special, specific kind of suspenseful expectation when the audience or reader understands the implication and the meaning of a situation on stage and they foresees the oncoming disaster or triumph, but the character does not. So we know what's happening, but they don't. The last one would be situational irony. This involves a situation in which actions have an effect that is opposite from what was intended, so that the outcome is contrary to what was expected. So now we know all three kinds of irony, and now I'm going to tell you about some other types of irony. First, we have tragic irony. This is a specific form of dramatic irony that ultimately arrives at some tragedy. So the key word here is sad story. We know it's going to be a sad or bad ending. Second, we have cosmic irony. This is an irony that exists between a character's aspiration and the treatment he or she receives at the hands of fate. Noticing the keyword here is fate is about destiny in the universe. Last, we have sarcasm, which is bitter form of irony in which the ironic statement is designed to hurt or mock its target. So it's kind of rude, but it's a form of irony. So now let's look at some examples of the three major ironies. First, we have situational irony. The literary work we're going to look at is The Gift of the Maggie by O. Henry. In this story, the wife cuts her long hair and sells it to have the money to buy her husband a pocket watch chain. But her husband also sells the watch to buy her a hair accessory. So they all want to buy each other something, and that's why they all fall into this kind of irony, which is situation irony. Second, we have verbal irony. So in Beauty and the Beast, this famous Disney movie, she refused to marry Gaston by saying, I just don't deserve you. Of course, we know she's way better than this guy, but she still politely, let's say, politely tells this guy that I just don't deserve you. But deep down in her heart, she just doesn't like him at all. So, last but not least, we're going to look at dramatic irony. So, a really Specific example would be two people are engaged to be married, but the audience knows that the man is planning to run away with another woman. And for literary work, we're going to look at Romeo and Juliet. So in Romeo and Juliet, Romeo thinks Juliet is dead, and the audience knows she is not. She is pretending that she's dead. We will all want to tell Romeo she's not dead, but as the audience or readers, we cannot do that. So that causes dramatic irony. So those are the examples of three types of major irony. And that is the end of this lecture. Thank you for watching, and I really hope you learned something from this. Thank you very much.